start your macrame plant hanger, you're going to fold all 8 of your 4 metre cords in half, making sure the ends line up. You're then going to find the midpoint and hang that like this. Once you've done that, measure around 7 centimetres down the left hand side. This is where you're going to start a wrap knot, and that's going to go all the way around here and end 7 centimetres down the other side. Now take one of your 2 metre cords, and where you measured to 7 centimetres down the left, you're going to grip that just a little bit extra sticking out the top. You're then going to make a loop, and you want that loop to go further than the 7 centimetres down the right. So in total you should have at least 14 centimetres of loop there. You're then going to take the long end of this extra piece of cord and wrap that around everything, just leaving that little bit sticking out the top. Okay, so all 8 of your 4 metre cords and that loop you've just created should be in there. And you're going to wrap this long end of the cord around roughly 50 times. Okay, and that's going to cover this 14 centimetre area. So you can see here, I just keep wrapping that around. Okay, and then I'm going to do the rest of these wraps off camera, but just keep going till you've got 50 wraps. Okay, so here I have completed the 50 wraps, and you can see that that's a nice big area. We've just got this much left at the end, and you can still see the end of that loop sticking out the bottom. So you're going to take that short end and pull that through the loop. Hold that nice and secure and get the end from the other side of the wrap knot. And then if you pull that really tight, that loop's going to disappear up inside the wrap. Okay, now just keep pulling until you're sure that that's nice and secure in there. Your wrap knot might get a little bit wibbly wobbly at this point. That's not a problem. We can just shape that back into the arch that we wanted. Okay, and there's your completed wrap knot. So if you just get a pair of scissors, we're just going to cut the 2 ends of the wrap knot now, just so they're out of the way. We've finished with this. Just find that one there. There we go. If you want this to look extra neat, you can just use the end of your scissors to pop those ends back up. Just give them a push with the end of the scissors and they'll disappear inside. Okay, so now we're going to work on one group that's coming out the end of the wrap knot. Okay, so I've moved this so that I've got one facing me, and this is the side we're going to start knotting. So you're going to get this group of cards, and you want to try and lay these flat. So if you're working with your piece hanging like I am, you're going to lay them flat against your hand and just sort of work out where they naturally want to fall. We don't want anything too crisscrossed at this point. Okay, so they're laid nice and flat. Now we're going to pick out the 5th card from the left. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's our 5th card. This is going to be the centre card in a row of double half hitch knots. Now the centre cord is the cord that we tie the knots around. We don't actively tie the knot with this cord. Okay, so we're going to be tying towards the left. So those other cords on the right, you can just move those out of the way at this point, okay? And we're going to tie the first knot with the next cord along. So that cord comes from behind your centre cord. See, it's behind. Then you're going to lift the end up so that it comes now in front of the centre cord, and then dip it back behind the centre cord through the loop that you've created. And then if you pull that tight, and you're only pulling the knotting cord, not the centre cord. Okay, and then bring that up in front of the centre cord, and then take the end behind and pull that through the loop to the front again. That's the second part of the double half hitch knot. So when you're tightening this, just be really careful that you're only pulling the working cord. If you pull both, you're going to end up with a big tangle, okay? So now we're going to tie another double half hitch knot with the next cord along. So again, that's behind the centre cord, and then you make a loop by bringing it up in front, flop that over the back of the centre cord and pull it to the front again, through that loop that we've created. Pull that nice and tight. Again, we're not pulling the centre cord, and then we do the second half of this knot by repeating that. So you make the loop by bringing the cord in front of the centre and then pull it through the loop back towards the front again. Okay, keeping your centre cord nice and straight, tighten that knot. You've got 2 more cords to the left now, so you're going to do 2 more double half hitch knots, and that's going to finish this row. You're now going to create a row of double half hitch knots going in the opposite direction. So bring down those cords that we moved away. And for your centre cord, you're going to use the top cord coming out of the knots you already tied. Okay, so that's going to be the centre cord going in the other direction. So get the first cord along from the loose cords, and we're going to tie another double half hitch knot. So you see that started from behind, we've done the loop coming up in front, and we've pulled the end through the loop. Same as we did in the other direction. Okay, that's the first half of the knot, and now we'll tie the second half of the double half hitch knot. So as you can see, we're now just tying this row going in the opposite direction, and this is going to create the top of a diamond. So I'll just carry on and tie 2 more knots here. So now you've tied the top of this diamond shape, we're going to tie a square knot in the centre. So to do this, we're going to move the end cords out of the way. So that's 2 cords from each end, move them out of the way. You should be left with 4 cords in the centre of your diamond. These 4 cords are going to be used to tie the square knot. So you should have a cord on the left, 2 centre cords and a cord on the right. Using the cord on the left, bring that over the top of the 2 centre cords like this, which forms kind of a number 4 sort of shape. And then with the cord on the right, bring that over the top of the tail, and then loop it up behind the tail, behind the centre cords, and pull it through to the front through the loop that you've formed. And then tighten that knot. Okay, that's the first half. So now create a loop with the cord on the right. And that's going over the centre cords, and then take your cord on the left over the tail, behind everything and through that loop. Pull that nice and tight. There's your completed square knot. You should have this sort of half inside your diamond. Okay, we don't want it too low. We want it to, as you can see, be kind of level with those end knots on the diamond. We're now going to create the bottom of the diamond. So take the cord on the most left and bring that diagonally over. Using the cords going along towards the right, we're going to tie 3 double half hitch knots. Now that you've created that side, get the cord on the most right, and this is going to be the centre cord going in the opposite direction. So you're going to tie 3 double half hitch knots going along the other way. We now just need to join up these 2 bottom rows of the diamond. As you can see, you've got a bit of a gap here. To close the diamond, we're going to tie a double half hitch knot using the right centre cord as the centre cord. And we're going to tie the knot with the cord that has been acting as the left centre cord. Okay, so you can see here I'm tying that double half hitch knot right at the bottom of the diamond. And we want to make sure that's nice and tight so that our diamond is closed. Once you've tied that knot, keep hold of your centre cord. That's going to remain as your centre cord to start tying the top of your next diamond. Okay, so straight in with the next cord along to the left, tie the first double half hitch knot of the next diamond. Okay, and with the next cord along, do the next one. When you finish this knot, we're going to tie another one with the next cord to the left. Now to go in the opposite direction, find the 4th cord along from the right, That's this one. This is going to be the centre cord going in the other direction. Okay, so we're going to again just tie 3 double half hitch knots. This time we're going on to the right. You can now repeat these steps until you've completed 6 diamonds on this strap. Now I've tied my 6 diamonds, we need to repeat this on the other side of the plant hanger. So I'm going to take this off the rack, turn that around to work with the cords that are coming out of the other side of that wrap knot. You just want to be careful here that when you start tying these knots, you have everything level. Line up your wrap knot at the top, and you want to make sure that you start the diamond in line with the diamond on the other side. Now that you've created 2 straps with 6 diamonds on each one, we're going to start on the basket that will hold your plant pot. The first knot for this basket is going to be a square knot, and that's going to be around 21 centimetres below the final diamond. You're just going to be working on one of the straps of the plant hanger to start with, so we can move this, and these are the cords we're going to be working with here. So to tie the first square knot, ignore the first 2 cords on the left of this group, ignore the 2 cords on the most right of this group, and we're going to tie this square knot with the 4 cords that were left in the middle there. So the same as we did in the centre of the diamonds, we'll use that left cord first to come over the centre cords, and that right cord comes over the tail, up behind the tail and the centre cords, and through that loop to the front. Okay, so if you want to get your tape measure out again here, you could do that and just measure that you've got those 21 centimetres, and then you can loosen and tighten that knot to get the right height. Once it's at the right height, you'll then do this second part of the square knot, and there is your first completed square knot. What we're going to be doing here is tying a diamond made from square knots. So that's going to be multiple rows of square knots. So our first row is 1 square knot. We've done that one. We're now going to do the second row, which will be made from 2 square knots. So you're going to bring back in those 2 cords you ignored on the left, and you're going to use the 2 most left cords from the first square knot. And as you can see here, I'm using those 4 cords to tie a square knot. That square knot is going to sit right underneath the previous one, but it'll just be offset to the left a little. You make sure when you tighten this that it is sitting flat. If you pull it too tight, the knot is going to raise up on the left. We don't want that. So make sure you've got your tension right here. And there you can see we've got 2 nice straight square knots that are sitting one under the other, just slightly offset. So we can now bring back in the 2 cords on the right hand side, and we'll use the 2 right hand cords from the first square knot. Okay, and we're using them again here to tie a square knot. This is the second square knot of our second row. So for the third row, we're going to have 3 square knots. This will require us to add in some additional cords. Take one of your 2-metre pieces of cord, and we're going to wrap that around the 2 most left cords. So your 2 most left cords will become centre cords, and the new cord is the one you're going to tie the square knot with. Okay, so you see we've got the existing 2 cords in the centre, and then we're using that new cord to tie this square knot. So you're going to slide that up, and as before, it's going to be directly underneath the square knot above, but just offset slightly to the left. And now we've finished that square knot. So for the next square knot on this row, you're just going to use the next 4 cords along. And just tie a square knot here. You now have 2 cords left on the right, So you're going to take another of your 2 meter cards, and like you did at the beginning of this row, you're going to wrap that around those 2 cards so they become the centre cards, and use the new card to tie a square knot. That completes the row of 3 square knots. Your next row is going to have 4 square knots, so again we're going to have to add in some new cards. As before, take one of your 2 meter cards, take the most left 2 cards, wrap the new card around those and use the new card to tie the square knot. You'll then go along this row and tie in 2 more square knots with the existing cards, and when you reach the end of the row you'll have 2 cards left, which you'll add another 2 meter card to, and that will complete this row of 4 square knots. You should now be able to see that you've created this triangle from square knots, but we need to turn this into a diamond. So we need to make the rows reduce in the number of square knots again. So for the next row it's going to be 3 square knots. So you'll move the 2 most left cards out of the way and tie the first square knot with the next 4 cards along. You'll now tie another 2 square knots on this row, and you'll be left with 2 cards at the right hand end. Your next row is going to be 2 square knots, so you'll ignore another 2 cards on the left, tie the first square knot with the next 4 cards along, and this time when you reach the right hand side there'll be a total of 4 spare cards. And for the final row you're going to tie 1 square knot, so remove another 2 cards on the left, just move them out of the way, and you'll be tying this square knot with the 4 cards that are next along. These are the 4 cards that are in the centre. So you'll now have 6 cards unused on the left hand side and the right hand side, and there's 1 square knot in the middle. Now that you've created this diamond, you're going to repeat these steps with the other strap on the plant hanger. When you tie the first knot of the other diamond, you want to make sure that you've got everything lined up and that when your plant hanger is hanging, those diamonds will be level with each other. So here you can see I've completed the diamond on each strap. When I hang my plant hanger, they hang nice and level. We now need to join those diamonds together. So I'm going to remove the plant hanger from my rail because if I joined them together here, they would be stuck on there forever. So I'm going to hang this on a hook so that I can take that on and off. If you're using some kind of rail that's got legs at the side, you're also going to want to take yours off the rail and use a hook at this point. So now I've got my plant hanger hanging on a hook that's hung to the rail, not straight on the rail. And we're going to tie another diamond made from square knots, and this one is going to be around 6 centimetres below the outer knots of the current diamonds. So to start this square knot, take the outer cord from each of the diamond and hold them together like this. These will be the centre cords for the square knot. You're then going to take the next cord along from each of your diamonds and you're going to tie the square knot with those cords. Okay, so you can see there that the most outer cords from each diamond are coming into the middle of this group. And remember, we're tying this square knot around 6 centimetres down. That's the first row of this new diamond that's going to join the previous 2 diamonds together. For the second row, we're going to do 2 square knots. So you're going to take the next 2 cords along from your left hand diamond, bring those to the 2 left cords coming out of the previous square knot, and use those 4 cords to tie this square knot. You're going to bring that up just underneath the previous square knot And then for the next square knot on this row, you're going to take the next 2 cords along and the 2 next cords along from the right hand diamond. Bring those 4 cords together and use those to tie this second square knot of the row. So the next row is going to have 3 square knots. So you're going to bring in another 2 cords from the left hand diamond and join those with the next 2 cords along from your new diamond and tie that square knot. The next square knot we'll just use the next 4 cords along, and the third square knot we'll use the remaining 2 cords from this diamond and bring in another 2 cords from the diamond on the right hand side. And for the fourth row we're going to do 4 square knots. The first knot, again you're going to bring in 2 cords from the left hand diamond and use the 2 most left cords from the current diamond. You'll then use the next cords along to tie 2 more square knots, and for the fourth square knot on the row you'll use the remaining 2 cords on this diamond and bring in another 2 cords from the right hand diamond. So we've now created the widest part of the diamond and we're going to start bringing it back in. So we'll ignore the 2 cords on the left and we'll tie a square knot with the next 4 cords along. This row is going to have 3 square knots. The next row will have 2 square knots and you'll ignore another 2 cords on the left to achieve that, and the final row will have 1 square knot. So now you can see we've joined our first 2 diamonds together with this diamond. We just need to repeat this diamond on the other side of the plant hanger with the remaining cords. So we'll do the exact same steps but using these remaining cords, and you want to make sure that this diamond ends up level with the one we just did. So I've now completed the second diamond on this level, and we're going to create the base of this basket with a wrap knot. Our wrap knot is going to be roughly 7 centimetres below the diamond that we just tied. So you want to get your 1.5 metre cord, and we're going to use that to tie a wrap knot. So you'll hold that at the 7 centimetre point with just a little bit sticking up above. You'll create that loop, and then we'll take the long end and wrap that around all of those cords and the loop at the 7 centimetre point. Create a wrap knot with 10 wraps. Okay, so you'll wrap this long end around 10 times. Once you've created those 10 wraps, you're going to take the long end, you're going to find the loop you created at the beginning, and you're going to pull the long end through the loop. You're now going to hold that long end secure against the wrap, and you're going to pull the short end at the top, and as you pull that, your loop is going to disappear up inside the wrap knot. You can now take a pair of scissors and just cut the ends off of the wrap knot. I only tend to cut the top one, you can't see the bottom one, it blends in with the rest of the cords. You're then going to trim the tail so that all your cords are the same length, and how long you trim the tail is up to you. Personal preference, I go quite short like you can see here. If you want to leave a little more length, that's absolutely fine. Now you've completed your plant hanger. I hope you had fun.